Okay, we are live. Welcome to episode 6 of Screaming into the Void, where we talk about whatever the hell we feel like. For all of those out there in YouTube land, I am Samuel the Infamous, and with me, as always, is Maesterchow.
Party on, Wayne.
Party on, Garth. I knew you'd get into it.
Yeah, well, it's either that or you will nonchalantly hint until I get into it. So
yeah. Hint like a purse full of bricks over your head.
yeah, or a slice of lemon tenderly wrapped around a solid gold brick.
True. I am. I'm nothing if not considerate.
Yeah, we'll go with
that. So how you doing today, man?
Oh, I'm just wore out from the week. Same old, same old.
Yeah, same here. So, for those in the audience, assuming anybody's out there, I don't see anybody in chat, but that's all right. We are having a few technical difficulties, so we won't be able to bring up anything fun on screen. I had a video planned that, was hilarious. Maybe I can get it next time. But that said, there's a lot going on in the world, and I don't care.
Well, it's because the world's pretty content to let itself burn to the ground. So, I mean, how much can you really care when it's basically seems like it's on a suicide run?
Right. So, I don't know, man. Everything's like, I blame it. Here's what I think, and I don't remember if I brought this up like on stream before, but I blame it on CERN.
Okay, why is that? Because every time they fire up the Large Hadron Collider, something fake dip happens?
Yes, every damn time. The first time they turn that shit on, everything's been screwy since. It's like, now I'm not one of those guys who thinks that they opened up like mini black holes or whatever, and sucked us into another timeline or that. I think that's crazy, but
yeah,
I do think
the world's crazy right now. So I mean, is it
right.
really that far fetched?
Well, it's a big particle accelerator, right? The whole point is to attract and or generate exotic particles, right? And then to study them and see what happens. Now, what if they are generating and or attracting exotic particles that we don't normally interact with, and those particles are now loose in our sphere, and they are altering the way human synapses are firing?
And it's entirely possible. I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You look at all the negativity in the world, and yeah, it sounds kind of hippy dippy and new agey, but man, that just creates this miasma of bad vibes that really just messes with people's brains. I mean, it's you see it all the time. If you're around negative people, you're going to start acting just like them. If you're around positive people, you're going to act just like them. The world is so full of just negative BS right now that it's really not surprising that it would be affecting things on a global scale.
Sure, but I'm thinking that a lot of that negative BS, which is of course human generated, is as a result of these exotic particles interacting with human, electromagnetic or whatever the brain waves, altering how people think, and these people are then going out and causing a lot of this negative shit, which of course is having a bit of a ripple effect on society. But and I say a bit, it's not a bit, it's
it's a substantial ripple effect. But yeah,
butterfly hurricane. But
quack, I'm a crow.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking that might have something to do with it. And like just the other week, they turned it back on again, and that whole week was nuts.
Yeah.
Yep. Nuts. I mean, assassinations, economic systems just full on collapsing. I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, Bitcoin took another face plant, so no real surprise there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is more than just a coincidence. I mean, I'm not saying correlation equals causation, but it could definitely be more than just coincidence.
Sure, sure. I mean, it's also possible that they opened up a rift into a hell dimension and were being negatively affected by the evil shits who live there.
Hey, well, you know what? If we can figure out how to do it, we can travel a la Warhammer 40K style.
Yeah, that
Just
doesn't
saying.
usually go well.
Yeah, well,
Like
still.
you saw Event Horizon, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you know the theory that Event Horizon is basically like the starting point of 40K.
Yeah.
Yeah. How well did it go for the passengers aboard that ship?
Well, not great. But I mean, you look at how far they've come in Warhammer 40K, and they can do it pretty, and I use this term very loosely, safely.
Right. My point is that they wouldn't have had to do that if they hadn't opened up the rift in the first place and gotten the attention of the Chaos Gods.
Right, but otherwise, it's what cryo sleep for tens of thousands of years while you get to your destination.
I mean, you'll get there and you'll probably not be insane and eat your crewmates to death.
I don't know. What would you do if you were asleep for 10,000 years and found out the world just passed you by?
I mean,
I'm
I'd be
pretty sure
pretty.
you would go bug fuck.
Possibly. I mean, you'd think though, like they put modern day astronauts through a battery of psychological tests to make sure they don't go bibbly when they see the black. And yes,
Right.
that was a reference to one of the greatest shows on television,
Shiny.
uh, Firefly. For those of you who aren't, actually, I think that was that on the show or was that in Serenity?
That was in Serenity, actually.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
yeah. I think you're right. So was the uh, So was the little half quote that I put in the description. So here's us on the raggedy edge.
Yep.
So
Don't push me. I won't push you back.
yeah, but they put them through a battery of psychological tests so they don't go nuts when they get up there and see the whole lot of nothing between them and eternity. And so you think that if you were knowingly getting into a cryopod to go thousands and thousands of light years to another system, and you knew full well what the time dilation effects of that were going to be. I
Well,
mean,
time dilation only works if you start getting up to near relativistic speeds.
right. I misspoke. But you knew that there was going to be,
Yeah, a
a,
substantial gap.
yes. So a gap as
I'm
wide as
just
the gulf
taking a
between,
gap year.
yeah, a gap in time as wide as the gulf between stars, if you will.
Yeah, pretty
Uh,
much.
so if you knew that was coming, would you not like psychologically prepare yourself for that beforehand?
Yeah, I would take a heroic dose of Xanax.
I think that people who go on journeys like that or will or would, seeing as how it's not really a thing yet on account of cryostasis kills people.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I always loved about science fiction. They're just like, oh yeah, we can just freeze people and then wake them up later. No, you can't because the ice gets into the cells and kills them.
Uh-huh.
It's why it doesn't work.
Although I was reading something about they've figured out a way to actually start supercooling cells to basically, to keep them from freezing, but put them in a state of almost suspended animation. I mean, about as nearly as suspended animation as you can get.
Sure, but the ice in the ice crystals forming in the cells. I mean, that's basically freezer burn. How do they prevent that?
This I don't remember what the chemical name is, but that's actually what they were talking about because they were using it for transporting organ transplants.
Um, I mean,
So they basically pump it full of whatever this chemical is, which basically takes the place of the blood, and it slows down any cellular degeneration or decay until it can reach its destination, and then they flush it back with saline and then fresh blood, and everything works just fine again.
hmm, hmm. Sure. Well, I mean, because we know it's obviously we know it's possible. I just didn't think it was we were that far along in development because they've dug bacteria and viruses out of like very old ice.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between digging a single celled,
Sure,
organism out of the permafrost and trying to preserve a human.
Absolutely. But I mean, your typical bacteria, while being a single cell, typically is a larger cell than a human cell.
True.
Right. So you'd think that it would be prone to the same kind of things, like ice creeping and in breaking past the what is it called? The cytosis?
Breaking through the cellular wall.
Yeah, that's it.
So I mean, but the thing is it is such a simple and basic biological system that it doesn't have anything really synergistic inside of it like the human body does. You don't have a central nervous system, a sympathetic nervous system, a parasympathetic nervous system. You don't have a digestive tract like we have a digestive tract. You don't have the sensory organs. You don't have any of that stuff. You have basically cytoplasm, a cellular wall, a nucleus, and different types of chemicals inside of it that digest things. That's pretty much it.
Fair enough. Welcome, Bubba. Good to see you.
And cryogenics needs to be cured first, like a ham. I mean,
but yeah, and here's the thing too. Interestingly enough, when the cells are damaged by, like, say, severe frostbite, like you would get with any kind of cryogenic process, or just being overexposed to the cold. One of the things that I always thought was kind of interesting was that has very little effect on the mitochondria within the cell.
Right. And I think something that could help quite a bit with suspending humans in some sort of stasis, be it cryostasis or other type of stasis, whatever, is figuring out how to basically splice in tardigrade genomes into humans, because you cannot kill a tardigrade. You cannot, and I cannot stress this enough, cannot kill a tardigrade, even in the vacuum of space.
Well, I mean, absolute zero, I'm sure wouldn't do the trick, but what about nuclear fire?
Nope. They're extremophiles. They can handle it.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah. Dude, tardigrades are nuts, man. You should look into it. That's a rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay. More like a bear hole, because they kind of look like bears, but
Yeah. But back to the mitochondria thing, that is what's interesting about those, because they are in effect themselves very, very, very small single-celled organisms themselves. They're not actually a part of us biologically. They exist in symbiosis with us.
What, mitochondria?
Yeah.
Mitochondria are basically highly packed DNA that produce energy for our cells.
Right. They're like the battery pack.
I would say if you say the powerhouse of the cell, I swear to God, I'm going to throat punch you.
I said battery pack.
That's what everyone says is, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Yeah, because that's the only thing you learned in 7th grade fucking science.
Well, that's because that's all they talked about in 7th grade science.
Yeah, this is true. Hold on. I got to grab my charger. Keep talking. I'm listening. I'm just muted.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. I think, though, they generate energy. And the fact is that they are capable of generating far more energy than they do. Now, if they were to, oh, hey, Josh, welcome. Joshua Herpersheim, eating to that. Oops, hot pot. Oh, okay. I got it. Thought pockets. That joke is still gross. It really is. But they produce a ton of energy, but that energy is not like anywhere near the limits of what they're capable of producing. Like, if we could figure out how to unlock their potential, like, altogether, I don't know that we need the tardigrade solution. But it's, I mean, you could in theory power a medium-sized city with a handful of the things.
Yes, this is true.
But they and while they are, inside of us and inside each cell and all that, I do believe it's more of a symbiotic thing, than it is they're just another piece of the cell itself.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know. Maybe I read too much Madeleine L'Engle. Maybe I played too much Parasite Eve. That's probably it.
Yeah, a little column A, a little column B.
Yeah. Those, by the way, for those of you who are watching who don't remember Parasite Eve, it was a video game along the lines of Resident Evil, except the premise was this chick named Eve, her mitochondria, she gained control of it. It took her over, really, and decided it had had enough of people. And then they started producing the kind of energy that we're talking about and altering things. And I don't want to get too much further into that without getting into spoilers, but it gets fucked up fast. It is a dark, dark little story. And I'm pretty sure that Madeleine L'Engle talked about it in, I think it was A Swiftly Tilting Planet.
I don't know. I only read A Wrinkle in Time.
You should read the rest of them. They're very good.
I might get around to one of these days.
The Swiftly Tilting Planet was the third book in the series, and its focus, the main character, was in fact Charles Wallace. Huh. He's a little bit older, and he goes on an adventure of his own. And his adventure takes him through the macro and microverse as well as other places. And one of the things he does is he interacts with mitochondria not as, parts of a cell, but as inhabitants of it.
Fair enough.
And it was just, I don't know, maybe I just never really got over that concept. I did read these books when I was a kid, guys, so bear with me. So you know how some things just sort of stay with you. And yeah, but yeah, I do think though that if we, regardless, it doesn't really matter whether they're a part of us or not, unless of course they're not and they decide to turn against us, in which case we're all fucked. But because there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, that's the story of the universe. If it turns against us, we're all fucked.
But that said, because of the capability of each one of them to generate enough power to, run a city block, right? If we could figure out how to unlock and harness that power, I don't think we would require your tardigrade solution in order to make cryogenics viable.
Well, yeah, because if we could unlock that kind of power, we could, probably start approaching near relativistic speeds. If not, figure out a way to create a, so to speak, black hole type thing to warp space-time and create a stable wormhole.
See, yeah, that's where you're talking about is wormholes. Black holes are not actually holes.
No, they are just a really, really, really dense, massive object that's in a very, very small and infinitesimally small space.
Yeah, but they're so massive and so dense that they warp everything around them.
Right.
And consume.
Right.
Actually, which only feeds their mass.
But if you were to be able to create something that could cause, a warp in gravity like that, you could theoretically warp space-time and create almost FTL travel without breaking the laws of physics.
Well, sure. You've seen that that demonstration they did when talking about what a black hole does to the fabric of the plane of existence that we know, yes. Where they take like the big rubber sheet and they put a bowling ball on it.
Yep.
Yeah, and it just sort of like, I don't know. That was probably, it's a very scientific of me.
Hey, that's a technical term, like Hodacker. Hodacker is a technical term.
Yeah. Real quick, we did welcome Joshua Herpelsheimer in as well. He made a crack that I don't know if you saw in the chat there. So Amira,
what are you going to pick?
Amira keeps making this joke on her channel when she's talking about lefties twerking for justice. Flapping their thought pockets. And, that puts an image in your mind of, well, it's not good.
Right.
There's nothing sexy about that. I mean, I keep thinking of, like maybe, if you took Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors, right?
You see more?
Turned it on its side, made it make of really, floppy rubber, and then just shook it really hard. And that's a thought pocket. That's what I see in my head when I hear the term thought pocket. So Amira, if you're out there listening, thanks so much for that.
Yeah, Sam, there's no bleach for my brain. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot, douche.
Well, you know how it is. If I have to suffer, so do you.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Bo brings up a point.
Actually, that's something Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about, that energy and matter are the same. Well, technically, energy and mass are the same thing, which is why, if you can convert mass into energy and energy into mass, because they are equivalent.
Sure, sure. He's not the first one to come up with that idea, though. I mean, that goes back quite a ways. And as a matter of fact, the transporters on Star Trek in the '60s are designed on that principle.
Right.
Obviously, yes, that's science fiction, and it's not a real true to life one-to-one thing. But the idea is that if all mass is energy, and and energy is energy, then you should be able to break mass down to its component energy and zap it to another location and rebuild it at said location. Which, on the surface, like as far as we know how energy works, isn't impossible.
Right. But now here's something for you. If you take a transporter and you have to go through a buffer, is the person that went into the transporter buffer and the person that came out of the transporter buffer the same person?
See,
And
that's where I run into it too. Yeah, I don't believe that they are. I think because like the very idea of the transporters, it breaks you down, it destroys you
Yeah.
as you are. Now, obviously, everything that makes up what you are goes into the buffer, but when it comes back together, does it come back exactly the way it was?
Right.
You're not you're by definition not the same person.
Correct.
You know, so that, and I could see why that would be concerning to Bones. you know.
Damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a transporter engineer. Jesus. That's Miles O'Brien.
Right, right. So I don't know that the whole transporter thing. Like, it's an interesting concept in theory. I don't suppose you guys out there and Maesterchow, have you ever see the 1986 remake of The Fly, the David Cronenberg film?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Number one, super gross. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, but it is super gross, and it's a little light on the plot. It's more about the characters and the tragedy than anything else. But I posit to you that Seth Brundle would not have had that tragedy if he had had proper transporter buffers.
Yep.
Because it would have scrubbed the two DNAs.
Yeah.
But he didn't, so everything got mishmashed together. I mean, So that is true, Boa. Every atom in your body is replaced every 7 years. So
Yeah,
again,
new body,
like,
who dis?
very, very much so. But that's like a car, for example, or a sword, or any number of things that needs to be maintained. Every once in a while, you've got to replace a part. Now, you get years down the road, and everything at some point has been replaced. Is it still the same car that it was at the beginning?
Could be.
I mean, in theory, it feels the same, right? It's been with you this whole time, but you've been working on it that whole time too, and so yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if it is in fact the same thing. Like, take a sword for example, right? The sword's made up of several parts. You got pegs holding the handle onto the tang. You've got cross guard. You've got the cross guard spacer. You've got the blade itself, which is attached to the tang, and every one of those parts over time wears out, and you have to replace one or the other. And at the end of that time, even though it looks the same and it feels like the same sword, is it really? Because all of the parts are new.
Yep.
So
since we're talking about things aging and changing and stuff like that, I wonder if you could stop your telomeres from aging, which are the little points on the end of your chromosomes. If you could stop your telomeres from degradation and aging, would you be able to stop aging in and of itself?
I actually think that is the goal of the whole anti-aging science. Because that is that not what causes aging in the first place? Is the telomeres? Is the
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So yes,
well, to a point.
Yeah.
Because as your cells go through cellular reproduction, it's everything's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. And think of how many times you could throw something through the copying machine before you can't actually read it anymore.
Right. Well, then you get into that's the Xerox problem. There was a movie that dealt with that actually pretty well in the '90s called Multiplicity with Michael Keaton and Annie McDowell, I think, where Michael Keaton went to a cloning facility because he didn't have enough time in the day to do all of his shit. So he had himself cloned, and then he had himself cloned again because, hey, why not? More the merrier. And then one of the clones goes and gets cloned, and the clone that comes out is kind of retarded. And they explain that as, well, it's like when you make a copy of a copy, it comes out a little fuzzy around the edges. And the more you do that, the fuzzier it gets. Star Trek SG-1 actually addressed that too. The Asgard were a race of beings that no longer reproduced sexually. They were all clones, downloaded into new bodies every so often, but they've been doing it for like 10,000 years. And we're at a point where their new cloned bodies were just breaking down and they were not able to continue along those lines.
This sounds like a bad Nine Inch Nails song. Just saying. Because he did write one. I am just a copy of a copy of a copy.
Right.
Everything I've said has been done before. Anyway.
So, Bowen, did you mean mRNA? Although from what I understand about it, I think I know what where you're going with. The reason that it's so prevalent these days is because a certain poke in the arm involving mRNA, is somewhat suspect in terms of what the actual goal with that one is. But yes, I understand that it was initially conceived as a kind of way to extend life.
Right.
Although,
because if you can, get your DNA to basically recode itself, which that's why I'm really interested in like CRISPR technology, where they're using the virus to basically recode DNA. I think that's freaking awesome and horrifically terrifying at the same time, but awesome mostly. Whereas mRNA, I mean, it's really just a messenger, which is why it's mRNA, that is messenger ribonucleic acid. Just like tRNA is transfer ribonucleic acid. So mRNA, yeah, you can tell your cells to do stuff or tell your body, hey, recognize this. But with CRISPR, you can actually change the coding itself, the program itself.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. There's stuff to think about it anyway. So now that we've got a few people definitely in chat hanging with us, I would like to, for those of you who were here last week, which I believe was both of you, we gave you guys homework last week. You all remember what it was? I have no problem going over it once again, but basically, we presented a scenario to y'all, or a question rather, and asked you guys to come up with possible scenarios. And I don't expect anybody to have successfully done this. I've been trying to do it for 15 years, so has Maesterchow. But name a situation or a scenario in which whatever is going on is made better by you personally being set on fire.
Yep. I don't think anyone did their homework. Oh, although I did my homework and I made a phone call. And when we go live next week, because he's out on a date this week, Janice Sadie is going to jump in and have a chat with us.
Cool.
So, yeah, I think it'd be awesome. And I did mention that I'm like, this is a dialogue. This is not a monologue. This is a conversation.
Yeah.
Because love the guy to death, but boy, will he steamroll you if you're not careful.
Right. But I have thought about that one because, see, the problem here is that the fire, while you're freezing to death, right, being set on fire would obviously put an end to the freezing to death part. But You'd also be on fire, so I don't know how that's, better.
Better. Beats me, man. I don't think there's any situation that exists. And
yeah, he did say that we didn't mention that. You're right. We didn't mention long-term benefit.
Okay. All right. So we'll add some errata to this. What situation in the long term where you are already on fire would be made better by the liberal application of morphine? All right, Joshua wins. That's it. He wins.
Man, this wasn't even a consideration when we started doing this shit because protests were few and far between, and they actually meant something then.
Right. And now it's just everyone protests everything for no reason.
Yeah, and in ridiculous ways. Like one of the things I don't understand
right now
is how a bunch of women going around topless in public, which, by the way, like Putin, I have no objection to.
Right.
Is in any way a successful protest. Like, I mean, and I get the nonviolent aspect of it. I get the peaceful protest aspect of it. What I don't understand is how that's supposed to convince men of anything, since all they will be thinking about is boobs.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you put a pair of boobs in front of a guy. It doesn't matter if it's good boobs, bad boobs, any boobs at all. You put it, and their brain immediately goes to mush. Immediately.
I like the thought here, Boa. I understand where you're going with that, and that would probably improve your family situation, obviously with the caveat that they would no longer have you around. But it doesn't improve your situation.
Yes, this has to improve your immediate situation in the long term with fire. Yeah. And you're already on fire. Right. So more fire added to the fire.
Take drowning, for example, right? Now, in my scenario, when I talk about drowning, obviously you're underwater. I mean, you can drown in like a half inch of water, so it doesn't have to be. But in my head, when I think about it, you're underwater, you're drowning. Now, for the sake of the exercise, this fire that I will be on will be burning underwater. Right. So not only am I drowning, but now I'm burning underwater and I'm still drowning.
Yep.
See where I'm going with that?
Just toast either way.
Yeah. Same thing with explosive decompression.
Right.
Right. Explosive decompression is a horrific way to go, but it's quick. And but imagine also being on fire while that's happening.
Yeah. More fire would not make that any better. Well, actually, it might, because fire indicates an oxidization source. So, I mean, unless it's self-oxidizing fire like magnesium or potassium, but I'm not factoring those in, all right? I'm keeping it simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Okay? Explosive decompression. You can't have explosive decompression if there's an oxygenated environment. Ergo, more fire means more oxygen. So that would be better.
Until the fire eats all the oxygen.
Well, yeah, but then it's not really your problem.
Also, all right. So here's a scenario: you're in an airlock and it blows.
Ooh.
So you've got oxygen, you've got fire for as long as that oxygen lasts.
Right.
And you're exposed to hard vacuum.
Now, what happens when you add more fire to that?
I mean, it only lasts as long as there's oxygen to last. So if you're in an airlock and it blows, like you're like in the airlock, it's cycling, right? The outside door blows, but the inside door stays sealed. So the rest of the ship is okay, or space station or what have you. But you were exposed to hard vacuum. So whatever oxygen is in there with you immediately blows out that door along with you. So obviously the fire wouldn't last long. From what I understand, explosive decompression doesn't take long either, 20 to 45 seconds, depending on how much shit you have in your lungs. And also keep in mind that being exposed to hard vacuum at absolute zero temperatures, you would also be freezing at the same time. Right. So there's all kinds of horrible shit happening all at once. And you're on fire. Briefly, however it may be. being on fire cannot possibly make that situation any better.
True.
True. So, can you guys tell I've spent some time thinking about this?
Maybe a minute or two.
That one, the explosive decompression one, is probably my favorite scenario that I've come up with. I mean, there have been others. We've been doing this for years, but yeah, it's just a fun little mental exercise. And guys, there's no right answer to this. It's just a mental exercise. It doesn't mean anything. It's just kind of fun.
This is our version of Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah.
I mean, really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, kind of it is. And oh, by the way, for anybody out there who's paying any attention at all to this in the YouTubeverse, who might take issue with any kind of opinions or whatever, number one, we welcome all opinions here, and number two, we talk about stuff. We're not experts in anything, so kiss my ass.
Yeah.
But
like you said, all opinions are welcome, good, bad,
sure.
Indifferent. I mean, and that's the thing. We might not agree with your opinion, but I'm still interested in hearing it. I love hearing other people's opinions. I mentioned this last week. That's why I want, if anyone in the chat ever comes up with something being like, hey, discuss this, I'm gonna discuss it. I'm more than happy to do that because hey, it's fun. One, sure. It adds content to our conversation, and two, it gives me something to ramble on about.
He does love to ramble, guys.
Yeah.
He does so love to ramble. That's not a bad thing. I'm not criticizing him about it, but if you get him going, and what's even funnier is our guest next week makes him look like a rank amateur.
It makes me look like a Benedictine monk who took vows of silence. Just saying.
And actually, our guest next week, I think, actually is an expert in a couple of subjects.
More than a few.
But we're not, YouTube. Mama Susan, don't take any of this shit seriously. We're just talking.
Yep.
Or take it seriously. Whatever. It's up to you. I don't care.
Joe Rogan says, just jokes, folks. Just jokes.
Yeah. So, that said, we are kind of winging it today. Didn't really have a plan. Just thought we'd start talking about stuff. Didn't really expect to get into the weeds on the logistics of cryogenics. That was sort of out of nowhere, but I think it was pretty good. But that's what we're here for, man. We talk about stuff, all kinds of stuff.
Well, that's what Screaming into the Void's all about. If I'm stuck in a Vogan airlock, I'm going to start humming, or not humming, but reciting Vogan poetry to myself, and maybe my intestines will jump out of my body and choke me to death before the airlock opens.
And for those of you who are not aware or haven't read it, that's from Douglas Adams, the author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, all the books that followed, and the single short story, all of which make up a trilogy, despite the fact that there are 5 novels and a short story. He insisted this to the day he died, which, he was a very strange man. And also, I believe, the Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency books.
I think so. I don't know. I just know he was really pissed off that he had to write a sequel to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because he didn't want to be a writer. He wanted to do radio shows.
He did radio shows.
I know, but that's all he wanted to do was radio shows. And the fact that they wanted more of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series really irked the crap out of him.
Yeah, and that, I believe, is why every iteration of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has been vastly different from every previous iteration. So he writes his books, right? And then they do a radio play. I believe there was a BBC series in like the friggin' 80s or 90s. And then there's a stage play. There was that god-awful movie that came out in the early 2000s.
Hey, I loved that movie.
That movie
It
sucked.
had Alan Rickman in it, dude.
Yeah, that was like the only part of it that didn't suck.
Yep, Carrie's late and gay again.
Yo, Carrie. Welcome in. I offered this weekend to give him a wrench, and he decided he'd rather pick fights with y'all. So have fun.
Well, you know.
So, but welcome in. We are, he's probably running behind on the stream, so he'll be catching up. So he won't hear this until later. But yeah, glad you're here, buddy. And for once, we started on time.
Ish.
Well, I mean, give or take 20 seconds. I mean, it
on,
wasn't like 7 minutes like we have been.
it's on time for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, I will refer all of you guys to the Nerdrotic channel on YouTube, because if you think we're fucking late,
No.
that guy consistently can't be any earlier than like 15 minutes late. 15 minutes is minimum.
Right.
Like, it's been hours in the past and all that. And I love his channel. I think he's great. But as he says, because he looks a fair bit like Gandalf with the big bushy beard, a wizard is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to. So he does actually a lot of good Lord of the Rings content.
That's awesome.
Well, he's a big fan,
right.
Which is why he has been hammering. Yo,
slap yourself. Thank you.
Yeah. But he is, and he has been hammering on this Rings of Power stuff that's coming out here.
I refuse to watch it. I'm not going to do it.
I think I think many people are going to refuse to watch. Anybody who's read those books, anybody who's been a fan of the Peter Jackson movies, which were, obviously altered but very reverential towards the source material.
Right.
Anybody anybody who's spent any time researching the man himself has an issue with this.
Yeah.
Well,
also, it needs to be more diverse for a more diverse time.
Oh man, I'm not even as worried about that as I am about the fact that they're completely screwing up the timeline.
Right.
It was like, what, I think the last queen of the Numenorians before the fall of Numenor, which came like 1,500 years after the forging of the rings, is running around with Galadriel leading freaking armies in places that neither of them ever went to.
Right.
Also, apparently, Celeborn is dead.
What?
Yeah. How stupid is that?
Well, I guess Anarchy 99 finally caught up to him.
Right. And, yeah. So, I don't know. It's,
I can't believe they tapped that guy to play Celeborn.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Oh, man. Yeah. No, everything about that looks like it's going to be a disaster. So I am going to skip it because I don't know. These days, man, everything comes out is either a perversion or a deconstruction of something that came before. Nothing that comes out is in any way original or positive.
Well, it's like that scene. I think it's at the start of Swordfish, and let me see if I can find this real quick. Go ahead and keep talking, but
fair enough. Boa says he has refused to read fantasy or see the movies. Well, that's fair enough, man. It's not, I was never what you would call a Tolkien scholar or anything. I read other authors. I do read fantasy, but not as much. And I thought the movies were pretty good, and I went back and reread the books because I had read them when I was younger, but I wasn't, I'm still not what you'd call a Tolkien scholar. Although I would say that I dare say I know a fair bit more about it than the writers of this new show. But that being said, I mean, that's a matter of personal preference, man. Like I don't read Harlequin romance novels, for example. It's not my thing.
Okay. So what I was getting at with the Swordfish thing, I found it. All right, I'm going to read this to you. I'm not going to share the screen. I'm just going to read it out to you. Okay, and this was spoken by John Travolta's character, Gabriel Scheer. You know what the problem with Hollywood is? They make shit. Unbelievable, unremarkable shit. Now, I'm not some grungy wannabe filmmaker that's searching for existentialism through a haze of bong smoke or something. No, it's easy to pick apart bad acting, short-sighted directing, and a purely moronic stringing together of words than many studios term as prose. No, I'm talking about the lack of realism. Realism. not a pervasive element in today's modern American cinematic vision. Take Dog Day Afternoon, for example. Arguably Pacino's best work, short of Scarface and The Godfather Part 1, of course. Masterpiece of directing, easily LeMay's best. The cinematography, the acting, the screenplay, all top notch. But they didn't push the envelope. Now, what if, in Dog Day, Sonny really wanted to get away with it? What if, now here's the tricky part, what if he started killing hostages right away? No mercy, no quarter. Meet our demands, or the pretty blonde and the bell bottoms gets in the back of the head. Bam, splat. What, still no bus? Come on. How many innocent victims splattered across the window would it take to have the city reverse its policy on hostage situations? And this is 1976. There's no CNN, there's no CNBC, there's no internet. Now, fast forward to today. Present time, same situation. How quickly would the modern media make a frenzy over this? In a matter of hours, it would be the biggest story from Boston to Budapest. 10 hostages die, 20, 30, relentless. Bam, bam, one after another. All caught in high def, computer enhanced, color corrected. You can practically taste the brain matter. All for what? A bus, a plane, a couple of $1 million that's federally insured? I don't think so. Just a thought. I mean, it's not within the realm of conventional cinema, but what if? And that's the whole thing, is they don't push the envelope anymore. There's no original ideas in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've never agreed with John Travolta more than that.
I mean, I agreed with him quite a bit in the movie Michael when he charged the bull with his forehead and screaming battle.
All right, fair enough.
That tickled me so much. I was a kid when that movie came out, and I was just like, yeah, let's do that. Sure, it might be hopeless. Sure, we might lose, but god damn, it looks fun. But no, he makes a pretty good point, and that is the problem with a lot of entertainment, and part of the reason for that, and I'm going to get a little bit into the commie shit here, is because of who's running things now in the major media industries.
Right.
These are the kids of the people who went to school in the 60s, learning how bad America was and how great communism is. And they grew up and they got jobs in entertainment and in media and in politics and in teaching, education, and so the cycle just continues. So these people, they're at the heart of it. Now, I don't think everybody in Hollywood is like this, but the people really running things at the heart of it. The goal is to turn the next generation, and in order to do that, what better way to do that than through their entertainment? Because what little kid isn't on a screen 24/7 these days?
Yeah, it's mindless consumerism. I mean, well, and not like we can say much different. I mean, we're sitting here in front of screens complaining about this stuff, but it's mindless consumerism. We've got TVs that have taken the place of babysitters. We don't say, hey, watch your little sister do this, do that. You say, here's the iPad, keep yourself entertained. Don't get into any trouble.
Yeah, and everything they're watching is either a rehash of something else or a perversion of it.
Yep.
And it just, strictly speaking, for myself, aesthetically, also, it's not as good as it used to be.
Right.
It just isn't. Have you seen recent Mickey Mouse cartoons? Content aside, the actual animation it's really ugly. I mean, it's like Ren and Stimpy if they were anorexic.
Yeah.
It's hideous stuff. I don't understand how that appeals to kids.
Mickey, you idiot.
Yeah.
Stimpy.
Yeah, and Ren and Stimpy was ugly in the 90s.
Well, yeah, but it was made to be ugly. I mean,
right.
that was the whole point behind it.
That's what I'm getting at. Everything since then has been also made to be ugly.
Right.
Like even shows that I like some adult animation like Metalocalypse, for example, which is a lot of fun. Some of the animation in that is just not pleasant to look at. And I'm not talking about the gore. I'm just talking about like the character designs.
Yeah.
They're hideous.
You know what's really unpleasant to look at, though? Hot dog, hot diggity dog. Yep. Now it's stuck in your head, too.
I hate you so much right now.
Uh-huh.
So much. I used to like They Might Be Giants. I did. And then they did the theme songs for the fucking Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and my kid listened to that shit for 5 years straight, every day, all day.
Oh,
And
I know.
I have spent the last 2 years scrubbing that from my memory. And here we go again. So yeah, you're getting a punch in the dick.
Worth it. Hashtag worth it.
Oh man. I hope so, because I'm putting the brass knuckles on. I'm gonna borrow them from Carrie. Carrie, you got some that are spiked? I'm gonna puncture me a testy.
Testes, 1, 2, testes.
Oh man, yeah, I really hate that song.
Yeah,
so much.
Me too.
See, and this is one of those things though, where like obviously, if I have to suffer, you have to suffer. If you have to suffer, I have to suffer. I get it. I get that's the kind of relationship that we had. But you hate it so much too, and you didn't have to bring it up.
Yes, I did. Actually, kind of like once a year, every year, I send my little brother a picture of that scene from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood when the guy makes a chimera out of his daughter and the family dog, and the
Carrie's
dog
got my
says,
back.
Edward. and it's really a horrific scene. I mean, very, very scarring. And my brother hates me for it, but I can't help myself. It has to be done.
No, it doesn't. It's
Yes,
not
it
necessary.
Yep,
It's not at all.
It's completely necessary.
I mean, arguably, that theme song to me is worse than visualizing a thought pocket.
What are you gonna pick? Thought pocket.
Oh, yeah. See. Carrie knows. Carrie knows.
Can you imagine the poor sap that came up with the theme song for Hot Pockets though? They're like trying to come up with some catchy tune. The guy's just like, Hot Pocket. We're going with it. That's it. That's the one.
Yeah, he probably got paid in residuals for that for years.
Right.
You know, I mean, those commercials ran for a long time.
Yeah. And by the way, that is not original Maesterchow material. That is actually ripped off from Jim Gaffigan, but still.
Yep. Always about giving credit.
Yep.
So if I make a joke and it's not my joke, I will bring it up.
Yep.
Yeah,
you wouldn't like it, Carrie. I'd fall asleep. You'd fall in love.
Oh, yeah. He says that, but you know, he's old now, so he'll probably fall asleep too. Oh, yeah. So that now you've derailed my whole train of thought with that goddamn song.
Sorry?
You should be. You should be sorry and ashamed.
I've been sorry all my life, but whether I apologize or not's another story. Or at least that's what Grace would tell me.
Yeah, he would. He would. I'm telling you that you need to go full on like that albino guy in the Da Vinci Code.
No. No. Because I don't have Alfred Molina to, push me to do that stuff.
Yeah, flagellate.
Oh, BT Dub. Speaking of flagellants, you need to look up a band called the Garden of Earthly Delights. Or no, Apocalypse Orchestra. The song is the Garden of Earthly Delights. But they also do one called the Flagellants song, and it's freaking amazing.
All right, I'll check them out.
Yeah.
Let's see. Care Bear Cubs, Hugs, Tugs, what? Bo, what are you on about? Earworms? Oh, yeah, fuck you too. Oh, yeah.
I used to have Friend Bear.
Yeah.
My brother had Wish Bear.
I had Grumpy.
Care Bear stare. They're not really staring. They're shooting belly beams at you.
Did you ever see that robot chicken sketch where the Care Bears decided to ethnically purge the Care Bear cousins?
Yes, I did.
it was some dark shit, but it was funny.
My problem is, though, I think Robot Chicken, and the only thing that comes to mind is Tetsuo.
Yeah,
Half a second clip, and that is all Robot Chicken means to me anymore, because
it
no
is
one
a
gets that reference, and I love it.
It is a half a second clip, but those of us who do get that reference, every time that clip plays, we replay that whole movie in our heads.
Yeah, which is arguably more scarring than the hot dog.
At like 5 times speed.
Got it out, Tetsuo!
Oh man,
Kagome! Wait, sorry, that's Inuyasha.
Yeah, for those of you who out there who are looking to get into anime, I wouldn't
watch Akira first.
No, no, I wouldn't start there. I would not start there.
Start there.
No,
start there.
Start with like
suffer like we have suffered, or start with Excel Saga. Start with Excel Saga.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
A lot.
Don't do that either. Start with something like Grave of the Fireflies.
Wow, dude. No. Just no. That, and you said I'm fucked up.
You know, I mean, I could have gone with Alien from the Darkness, but that's just hentai.
Right.
You know, for those of you who are curious and haven't seen it, Alien from the Darkness basically follows the plot of the movie Alien, except everybody's a hot chick, and so is the alien, right up until it sprouts a member from its vulva. It's a whole thing. It's very, and there's a ferret.
Hey, Boa, I think McDonald's should offer grumpy meals. I'm just saying, I would eat them all the time.
They should offer grumpy meals.
Right.
You know, I saw this thing the other day.
But they only serve them at 2:00 in the morning after the bar closes.
Right. I saw this thing the other day that said that you know, it takes more muscles to smile and to laugh, it takes less muscles to smile than it does to frown. Right. And I think biologically that's true. You use more muscles to frown than you do to smile. And the point that the poster was making was that people who smile are just lazy.
You know, it takes 42 muscles in your face to frown, but it only takes 4 muscles to extend your arm and bitch slap that motherfucker upside the head.
Yes, Carrie, I want an itemized list.
Both alphabetically and chronologically. Thank you very much.
Not in the chat though. that'll take longer than we have.
Which I think we still need to set up the grudge match between me and Carrie about religion.
Is it you and Carrie?
I think he was the one that brought it up last week.
I'm pretty sure
no,
it was
Boa brought it up too.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, the put you guys in the chat together and let you duke it out.
Right.
That'd be good TV. Yeah.
Only if we can have Judge Mills Lane, you know, referee it. So let's get it on.
Is he still alive?
I don't know, actually. Let me find out. I'm curious.
I mean, because he was old in the 90s.
Right? Ooh, if I could spell.
That is true. That is true.
Judge Mills Lane is indeed still alive. He is 84 years old.
Wow. I thought he was older than that.
No, he was born in 1937 in Savannah, Georgia.
Huh.
11 fights. He fought welterweight. He did suffer a stroke back in 2002, though.
That might explain why we haven't heard from him in a while.
Yeah. Well, same reason, you know, we haven't heard from Tim Curry because he had a stroke.
Boa, honestly, I don't know who that is. I'm not even sure how to pronounce that.
I got nothing.
You got a challenge. That's what you got.
Hey, you know, bring it on, man. Bring it on. It's just fun for me.
Yeah, his issues are seeing therapists.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'd like to throw it out to the chat. Do you guys have anything that you'd like to talk about today? And thank you for clarifying that. I haven't paid much attention to World Wrestling Federation, and yes, I still call it that since I was probably 6. So I don't have I haven't followed any of that since then, and so I'm a little out of touch with
Hey,
the
did you ever watch Ready to Rumble?
maybe.
You need to. Like, I know you're not into wrestling, but A, it's starring Oliver Platt, and B, it's about the WCW or WWF or whatever the fuck. It's not WWE. I can tell you that much. But it's absolutely hilarious, and the two main characters are from Lusk, Wyoming.
Really?
Yeah, and it's hilarious. It's awesome. And Oliver Platt's in it. Diamond Dallas Page, Sting, all of them, all the greats.
See, you say all the greats and you talk about Sting, and I'm thinking to myself, I was like, when I think all the greats, I think I was paying attention and watching wrestling when Jake the Snake Roberts and Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Bushwhackers and Andre the Giant were huge.
You remember how the Bushwhackers would walk out on stage?
Yeah, I saw them live when I was like 4.
Yeah, they look stupid.
They did. They also behaved stupid in the ring. As a matter of fact, one of them pulled down Hacksaw Jim Duggan's pants and spanked him on his bottom.
Eh.
Like I was 4. I was at the arena. This was in Rapid City, South Dakota at the time. And I only remember that trip actually because my dad, who had me for the weekend, took me to. His plan was to go see the wrestling match, but we spent the afternoon at Reptile Gardens, which, by the way, any of y'all get out to South Dakota at any time, Reptile Gardens is absolutely a great place to visit. It's all kinds of cool shit. It's not as cool as it used to be. They got rid of their raptors a while back, which is unfortunate. They used to have this really impressive collection of birds of prey, but now it's just they whittled it down to just the reptiles and a few arthropods. Like I think they got a camel spider,
Yeah.
Which is interesting. But they still have some pretty cool reptiles. Like what's his name? Maniac, I think, is the saltwater crocodile.
Yep.
That they keep there, and he is, for the record, guys, the second largest saltwater crocodile in captivity on Earth. The largest, of course, being I forget his name, but he's in a zoo in Australia. Guy's huge. His head is longer than your body. Like it's just he's a massive animal. And they got an anaconda a while back too. Yeah.
Well, he don't want none unless you got buns, son. So.
What's this? 2 believers versus non-believer, 2 LDS versus 1 anti-LDS. How do me and Boa team up against Maester? Science, maybe? Where are you getting 2 LDS from? Are you LDS?
I know one of them used to be LDS.
Right. Boa was.
Right.
But he's not anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I used to be too, but here we are.
Right.
So raised in it, but it didn't take.
Like I said, I'm not practicing LDS. I'm just a believer in it. So.
Yeah, you're what we used to call a Jack Mormon.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, which is I mean, you know how I feel about that stuff. As far as I'm concerned, if you have the faith, then that's all you need.
Yep, pretty much.
So, plus, I mean, no offense, dude, to you specifically, but definitely some offense to the LDS process and way of doing things. Who the fuck wants to go to church for 3 hours?
Actually, fun fact: President Russell M. Change Everything Else About It Nelson has shaved it down to 2 hours.
Oh, there we go. That's it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I will say though, Carrie, for somebody who hates LDS, I'm kind of impressed that you're being respectful enough to use the term LDS as opposed to Mormon shit stain, which I've been hearing a lot lately.
Yeah, well.
So, Grace, actually, you brought Grace up earlier. He sent me this pamphlet, a photograph of a pamphlet, rather.
Yeah, he sent me that too.
Yeah. I looked that couple up. There. Okay, so you know how I feel about proselytizing,
Right.
right? I think that it's truly an evil. I really do.
Right.
These guys, but it is what it is on the surface of it, right? It's obviously I have issues with trying to change what somebody else believes to conform to what you believe. I don't believe that that's right. These guys are trying to convince. They're doing the same thing, but they're even more insidious about it.
Yeah.
And that ain't right either, man. If somebody wants to be a Mormon, let him be a freaking Mormon, as far as I'm concerned. Somebody wants to be a Catholic or a disciple of Asatru, or a Shinto friggin' priest, for all I know. They can do whatever they want to do, as far as I'm concerned, as long as they ain't hurting anybody. I was having a conversation with my mother about this yesterday, and she was telling me that, the way the LDS works is that they and I think she said it was President Monson who said this, and I'm paraphrasing here. I don't remember exactly what she said, but that we are only looking to add to what you already have. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, if a missionary had said that to me, I'd be like, well, then I follow Asatru, and I don't mean modern Asatru. I mean the old ways. We do human sacrifice. How you going to add to that?
Beats me, man.
Yeah. By the way, for the record, I'm not a follower of Asatru. I was just making a point. But yeah, these guys are sending out pamphlets all over the place, and they're actively trying to quote unquote deprogram people. Which, I mean, I understand harmful cults, but harmful cults. This is not that. It really isn't. And I've said this before in other streams. The only real difference that makes any difference at all between a cult and a religion is that in a religion, you are free to leave.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
They could be identical other than that. In a cult, you're not free to leave. It's possible to leave, sure, but they're definitely not going to allow you to do it. Look at Scientology, for example. They hunt people down who try to get away. At least that's what I'm hearing consistently from people who have gotten away, including the father of Dave Muscovich, who is the current Grand High Poobah of Scientology.
Yeah.
He actually did a really good interview with Joe Rogan about 4 or 5 years ago on the J.R.R. podcast. That was interesting. It was enlightening. I watched that one right after he did the interview with Leah Remini, who also got out, kind of thing. But Scientology is like a different thing. It's actually, if I'm being perfectly honest, Scientology is a tax evasion scam. But
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Well, it always was. That's why they were always talking about the sea and L. Ron Hubbard spent most of his life in a boat in international waters after he found out that thing. It's because he was evading taxes.
Yeah.
That was it. And furthermore, I don't understand why people would follow somebody who was admittedly prolific, but objectively terrible as a science fiction writer.
Carrie, I could see you doing that. I really could. Just so they'd show up to your house and you would have a reason for a little bit of boogaloo.
Yeah, and they would come for you. They try to stop you from leaving. They try to seize your assets because, as far as they're concerned, it belongs to them. All of that stuff. That's culty behavior. That's like extreme culty behavior. Because most cults are actually pretty harmless. Most of them. And by harmless, I mean like to society at large. Obviously, there's some psychological damage to the members themselves, but I would argue the same is true of religion in a lot of ways.
Right.
But yeah, I kind of got off on a little tangent here. Sorry, folks.
You get that sometimes.
So, but let's see. What do we got here in the chat? Okay, I can see where you've got an issue with that. But that it always struck me as a little bit odd too. It has a lack of consent. Like a consent is implied. That
So you want the explanation for that? I
I've
can give
had
you.
the explanation. It still doesn't make sense. I've done
Well,
baptism for the dead, man.
I would say it's simple. You're just offering them the chance to take up that ordinance in the afterlife. They can choose not to accept it. I mean, that's the thing is it's you're not forcing them into it. You're merely presenting them with the choice. Is all it is. You know, so you go through and you do the temple ordinances by proxy, and all it does is give that person a choice in the hereafter to either choose to take that up or not to. That's all it comes down to.
See, and I understand that a lot of it is targeted at people who had never had any contact with the religion in the first place. You know,
To a point, actually, a lot of it's mostly family members, honestly.
sure, but there are also, like I know it's been done for people who've been dead for centuries.
Yeah,
And the fact of the matter to me is that if they wanted to find that path, they would have.
right. But I mean, who's to say that in the hereafter they, you know, don't, they don't want to not find that path. I mean, who knows? Who knows what goes on afterwards? I mean, that's kind of the whole point behind it.
Sure, sure. Actually, I was kind of hoping that Mrs. Jamaica would have joined us today because I wanted to ask her if she had gotten through on a pale horse yet, because I think it goes very well along with this topic.
Oh,
Um,
agreed, agreed.
you know, um, because that's the thing. It's like if the ideas present in the on a pale horse hold true in any way to reality, then say somebody who chose not to follow that path during life would not necessarily have the option in death to do so because they've made their choice. An atheist, for example, would cease to be, and
Right,
therefore the choice would be moot.
right. But that's the thing about it is, yeah, you kind of have to finish the entire Incarnations of Immortality series because they also have, there's a book out there called And Eternity
I've read it.
where it actually deals with God.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah,
Yeah. I just, I do think that I wish he had been able to make it, but unfortunately they had something come up at the last minute. So,
yeah.
as far as I know, Carrie, and I'm going to answer now, so whatever. But I don't believe that Scientology practices polygamy. No, um, I don't. I don't believe that, but I don't know everything about their organization either.
Yeah.
So I couldn't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure that that's not really a thing there. Insofar as like you might be thinking, like with Mormon polygamy, which by the way is also not widely practiced anymore by the original LDS Church. It is by some offshoot splinters that are a little crazy in southern Utah in the
Yeah.
canyons.
Well,
But
and they used to call themselves the FLDS, the Fundamentalist Latter Day Saints, but then they recently changed their name to not be associated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Day Saints.
yeah, but I mean they were offshoots, and as far as I know, they did practice polygamy. I don't even think the reorgs practice.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
But the reorgs actually own a lot of the early church properties in like Nauvoo, Illinois, and places like that.
Keela, hey man, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Sir Keela Hayes is another friend of ours from the Lioness's channel.
And no, Boa, I didn't miss book 8. I do have that one as well. And I didn't really find it all that interesting, but I know it's there.
So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, as far as I know, man, Carrie, the polygamy thing, when that was made illegal in the United States, because it wasn't always, they went along with it because they're still commanded, I think, to live by the laws of the land, and as so far as they're just laws.
Yeah.
So
We believe in
no.
being subject to king's presence, rulers, magistrates, and obeying, ordaining, sustaining the laws.
Right. And that's another point where you lose me at. No gods, no masters for this motherfucker.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And that for everybody out there who doesn't understand what I mean by that, I don't mean that there are no gods and no masters. I'm just saying that I'm not getting on my knees before any of them.
Thanks for stopping in, Killa. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Hopefully, hey, we should be having another stream tonight. So if you got time, pop over to Amir's channel. I'm sure she'd be happy to hear from you. So have a good night. Be good at work. One of these days, by the way, we got to get him on because he does the most incredible strip club stories.
Nice.
He does. We've got like a little segment on the Mayor's channel sometimes when he comes on where she puts him full screen and we just call it strip club stories with Keela.
I wonder if he's ever been to Sharky's at Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
I don't know. I'll have to ask him next time. So he's a good dude though.
Fair enough.
All that, but yeah, that's well, guys. I think
ran a little long today.
Well, I'm okay with that myself.
Right.
We're trying something new. I got some feedback from y'all. Remember True Believer from Amir's podcast? He watches this too. Shout out to him. He gave me some feedback the other day about how we were structuring things and how I was writing shit down in like a bullet point list by list, and and he was talking about how he thought that it sort of felt like we'd have to stop a conversation and start a new one. And it was like a series of jerky stop starts throughout the thing at the very beginning. And so last week and this week, we are trying something new to see how it works out, see if there's more of a natural flow. Obviously, I didn't prepare shit today, and that's on me. But we, it's kind of why we're all over the place. But we're trying to just see if we can, see where the conversation goes, pick a start point and go from there. Obviously cover certain things. Obviously not today because, I was kind of busy with other things. But and by other things, I mean sleeping. I was sleeping. I was being lazy and I was sleeping instead of preparing for this. So
I was playing Monster Hunter, so it's not like I'm not blameless.
Yeah. So you guys, if you give us some feedback on how that works, because I think True Believer was right, and he mentioned this as well. He thought that last week's went very well. That just having the conversation feels more natural and it's more engaging and it's more fun this way. Let us know, please. Leave comments. Any kind of feedback, we're more than open to.
Yep.
So, because this is a new thing, we're trying this out, seeing how it goes, and we will change things as needed. But I think right now what we got going on is pretty good. We're a couple of entertaining guys. We've got some decent chemistry. At least that's what I've been hearing.
Right.
So.
Well, I'll say as long as we've known each other, I would hope so at this point.
Yeah. So, by the way, so in the chat, guys, do me a favor. Which one of us is funnier? Post a 1 for me and a 2 for Maester.
Yeah, I'm really curious about this.
Because I think it's me.
I beg to differ, sir.
I know you do.
Looks aren't everything, Sam.
Well, you got to make sacrifices somewhere.
Hey, leave my goat out of this.
Hey, yeah, Carrie, fuck you. Yeah. So as always, though, guys, that's probably not going to happen, my friend.
Yeah, I prefer my face not to be out there.
See, when I said funny, I didn't mean funny looking. Comedy to the bears. I mean, bears really aren't that funny unless they're dancing on a ball in a Russian circus
or stealing picnic baskets.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that one.
Just saying. Just saying.
They are, however. Yeah, this real quick, going back to the Mormon thing and the word of wisdom, because we touched on this last week. So the word of wisdom, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most everybody here does, is a guideline as to how to basically not treat yourself like shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Obviously, it comes from the perspective that your body is a temple to God, and ergo not really yours, and you should take care of it.
Hey, Carrie, waka waka.
However, there are people out there in the world who have made the observation that there's all kinds of things that are not on this list. So, like, why is this okay and why is that not okay? And the way I've approached this is because, not being a Mormon myself, but the word of wisdom thing does make sense in this aspect. It's about not doing things that are harmful to you, right? It's a series of suggestions and guidelines, but it's not like everything in the world that's bad for you is on that list, because some shit's just common sense. It doesn't say don't drink cyanide by the gallon either.
Although there are some people you wish would, but that's,
Yeah, that's very charitable of you. It also doesn't say, flick a sleeping bear in the balls. It doesn't explicitly prohibit that activity, but I guarantee you that common sense and myself are in accord when I say that is a very bad fucking idea.
I'm inclined to agree.
So I just, and that also, people talk about things that are natural and good for you, and it's sort of a bit of a tangent, but they'll talk about this stuff and they'll be like, oh, well, because it comes from the earth, it's good for you, and they're usually trying to sell me on some weed or something like that, which I'm kind of not in favor of. And so I like to counter with, you know what else is natural? Bears occur in nature. Bears are not good for me.
This is true. Unless you're eating the bear.
Yeah, volcanoes also occur in nature,
but are definitely not good for you.
Yeah. Hell, cyanide occurs in nature, actually. So does strychnine. Our bodies develop strychnine.
Yep.
Just, not in lethal amounts unless something goes really wrong. Yeah. So, yeah, end of rant, guys. Sorry about that. I just, you know how it goes. Sometimes I get on a topic and then I end up 5 topics down the road from it, and here we are.
Right. Well, in that case, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, if you want. I mean, I know Sam says you don't have to, but I say you do. I would appreciate it if y'all shared this message. I know it's really nothing important, but I think it's actually really important that we share this kind of, open and honest conversation, these kind of funny viewpoints, this kind of joy, spread joy through the world. Stop the hatred, stop the vitriol, and let's have a little bit of fun while we're out of it in here, because no one gets out alive anyway.
Spread joy, huh?
Yep.
I have to go drown a bag of kittens because you said that, right? To make the balance right.
I could say something to you that's even worse, but I'm not going to.
I'm kidding, Susan. It was a joke. I'm not going to drown a bag of kittens. Visibly. All right, fellas, thanks for coming by. Thanks for supporting us. Really do appreciate it. Please do engage in the comments, though. Let us know how we're doing well. Let us know how we're, where we're fucking up. And we will adjust things accordingly. Unless it's a dumb suggestion, and then I'll probably just tell you that and leave it at that.
Yeah. If you ever get a reply that says duly noted, that's us blowing you off.
Right. Well, I'll just tell you I'm going to blow that off because, I'm not PC about it. I'd be like, no, that's dumb. So, but seriously, though, thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. We do appreciate it. We've been having a blast doing this. And you guys are a big part of that. I know we're kind of all over the place in topics, but that's sort of the point, right?
Hey, we're screaming into the void, man. I mean, the void doesn't care what you say.
Yeah,
just scream into it.
like Chow said, that it's important to have conversations that aren't necessarily all consumed with the nasty shit that every one of us has to deal with every day, all day, and cannot get away from.
Yeah.
I think it's good to be able to laugh at those things, first of all, and it's also good to be able to just talk about stuff. You don't have to be an expert to talk about stuff. You can have opinions on anything you want. That's one of the things that drives me nuts about this day and age is everybody's like, oh, provide links, provide sources, provide what. It's like, whatever happened to having a conversation?
Right.
I was like, obviously, if I have proof of something, I will link it. But if I'm just talking out of my ass like we do here, which, by the way, is more enjoyable than seeing who's got the bigger bibliography in their pants. I think this is important. It's important that we don't lose the art of conversation, that we don't stop it every 10 seconds because somebody is demanding proof of what you just said.
Yeah.
So,
or because someone's offended by something that you said.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing here. We're providing a place that, is as unsafe as possible.
Yep.
Frankly.
While still being safe for you to have, any opinion, idea, thought, whatever you want. Go ahead and say it.
Free speech is absolutely welcome here. Absolutely. As far as getting your feelings hurt, I mean, that's kind of on you. If as my mother has long said for many years, in order to be offended, you must first take offense. It's a choice. So if you feel offended by anything that's said here, get over it. And if not, great. Let's laugh together. That said, I am going to probably close this out with a thank you, because this is great. I'm having a blast doing it. I think Chow is too, although I hesitate to speak for him.
Oh, no.
Like,
I'm enjoying myself.
I mean, oh my God, I just assumed his gender.
Oh my God. How dare you? How dare you, sir?
Oh God, sweetie. So that said, thank you guys for coming. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for watching. Spread the word. And we will see you next week. Until then, this has been Screaming into the Void. I'm Samuel. You can find me here. Maesterchow, you can find here and on his own channel, also creatively named Maesterchow, and once again, not my joke, Sydney Watson's. It's a good joke. I think it's hilarious. Worst
case scenario, we'll be back next week on Rumble.
Yeah. That's all I got. Till then, I'm here to be your dancing monkey. I'm not doing the monkey noise again.
Dance, monkey, dance.
Yeah. Ooh, ah. Have a good night, everybody.